Thanks for having me here. I'm very grateful. My name is Pat Grosswendt. I'm one of the co-founders of Litepanels. I'm here for the CNC International Lighting Seminar, which is something we're happy to attend and to be supportive of. CNC is a distributor here in South Korea. The generosity is to be able to bring in 150 to 200 of the specialists from around the city to listen to us talk about our products, but also, from my point of view, to be able to give some inside hints and tricks of lighting techniques from my 40 years of film lighting in Hollywood. Well, what we have is our Gemini. Our Gemini 2x1 soft light is absolutely the greatest product that we've come out with in years. We're very well known for our 1x1s and our Astro lineup, a very successful product, our Fresnels, but the Gemini is our 2x1 soft light. It's a combination of daylight and tungsten chips, and then we use RGB technology to introduce the ability of changing to theatrical color choices or for effects. So it's a really wonderful product that we're very proud of. Well, I think it's a really exciting time. I think that there's a number of different formats that are working into image capture as far as the audience is concerned. You have cinema, and you have streaming cinema, you have TV broadcast, you have news broadcast, and you have these OTT options that have been around for a long time, and now you're starting to see more streaming and live presentations via the internet, independents or through groups. And so the pipeline of distribution has just gotten bigger, which means that it needs more product. And so I think a lot of young filmmakers out there, people that are very talented that haven't had the opportunity to get into the hands and eyes with their projects of executives that may put it on the screen or on TV is now completely different. And so it's a great, great time, I think, in the industry that's constantly evolving and changing, but to give more opportunity to more people on a global basis. I think if you follow your heart and your individuality, you're going to be successful. That's really the basis of it. All of us are different. Lighting is very personal. So I think that having the interest and passion to experience and promote yourself to trying different things, especially if lighting tends to be a part of the story, not dictating the story. It's very important that we always remember that the story is what engages the viewer. And so the lighting is important, but maybe not as much as sometimes you want it to be. So you may force yourself to stay with a proper color instead of something extreme just because you think it'll look cool. You've got to remember being a part of a team and indoctrinating yourself with all for one, one for all. So when I say follow your heart, you know if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And even if you're not sure, just remember, if you do it and you're not sure, if they call you and hire you again, you did it right. Lighting is no secret, so I think we've hit on a lot of important stuff. But I think what's important to remember is all the companies that you've had to this incredible seminar this week all have great websites. They all have the opportunity for any of your viewers to go out and look at the products, see what it is, see what they do, get more engaged with it, find somebody that has it so you can try it, and experiment. That's the main part about growth.
라이트패널의 공동 창립자이시고 공동 창립자이신 미스터 패트릭 그로스웬트씨입니다. 큰 박수로 부탁드리겠습니다.
Okay, thank you. Hello. I'm going to start off by just shouting out to my work crew friends over here who worked very hard the last 2 days to set up all the equipment. Appreciate it. My girls in back translating that are going to keep my speech slow so those of you that don't speak English can hear me okay. Everybody okay? Yeah. Everybody happy to be here? Yeah? Okay. It's not a memorial. It's a kind of a party. So Litepanels was created with a group of guys that did lighting professionally and had a really unique idea, which was how can we make this equipment not so heavy? The interesting thing about Litepanels' journey and how it started was timing. The digital revolution was underway. When I started in the film industry at Universal Studios at 25 years of age, this was the late 70s, and television was still being produced with film. And slowly there was a transition to tape. And from tape, it went to SD to HD, HD to 2K, 2K to 4K, 4K to 8K. So the transition for our company's growth was very timely. It was almost by accident. But at the same time, we realized that LEDs were starting to become accurate and reliable in color. And thus, Litepanels originally was called ring light. The ring light sat around the camera lens and was used for actually adding more light into the eyes and eye socket, a reflective value. How's my speed, girls? Good? Thumbs up, right on. So with that ability to be actually able to dim the LEDs without a color shift became very, very important to the growth of the company and the products that we developed. So I just want to go on record with saying that I actually prefer no PowerPoint. But unfortunately, and actually very astutely, the management here has requested for a PowerPoint just to give a little technical insight. As Matt mentioned earlier, and Francois, who will be coming on stage a little later on with his remarkable products, we're all here to answer questions that may come up. If you have a short-term memory, please borrow a pen from your friend sitting next to you and write it down, because your questions are important to us. Okay? Any questions? Just kidding. Okay, so on to the dreaded PowerPoint. I think this is up, right? Forward? Down? Okay. So, illumination in light panels. See, I can read. Illumination technology highlights. Litepanels is the only lighting manufacturer to direct the production of LED to meet rigorous internal specifications. Now, this points back to a very long time ago, before others were using LEDs in their lighting products. And as you remember from Matt's conversation, where everybody bins their LEDs, meaning they're very specific about what they choose in regards to color rendering and color lifespan. So the LEDs are measured and they're sorted and chosen, cherry-picked. Who remembers working with these type of lights? A show of hands. Anyone still working with traditional Fresnels? Not all at once. Anyone? Good. Thanks for playing. So the idea was to take a embodiment of traditional look and incorporate LEDs into it. Now, many of you that are actually doing lighting may remember dropping your first Fresnel and having the glass lens crack or break or shatter in the rain. Very embarrassing, very unfortunate. Because we generate less heat, we designed our own new style of lens, which was plastic, acrylic. unheard of in lighting because, as you know, visible light is visible heat. So you would melt the plastic or you would melt your gels. And the design on earlier light panel products, the Inca 12 and Sola 12, with a traditional 2K Fresnel in the middle, shows the value of our design for acrylic lenses, a very nice clean outer edge. Okay? Light panels lens on the left, traditional glass lens on the right. So as you can see, it's actually pretty good quality. Now, traditional lights generate a tremendous amount of heat, and the LED does not. But it does generate heat because it is physics. Provide energy, produce light, exhaust waste, and that waste is heat. So we're very adamant about how we get rid of the heat from our LEDs. Because if you don't, a competitor's example here on the left and right, I love it. Somebody just held up a cell phone saying, "Slow down." Sorry. The modern age, digital. So you can see with the functionality of not getting the heat off of the LED, there is a challenge, which is the failure of the light. And the failure is somebody's money, right? So we designed heat sinks, never before seen by man on this planet, out of a science fiction book. But it worked very well. And we incorporated fans to deliver air movement off of the radiator to remove the heat and get long life out of the LED. Low heat LED Fresnels allows you to use a gel that we sandwich between clear polymer, which gives it rigidity, which allows you to use gels over and over and over. Now, is anyone here a production manager or somebody that handles the budget of projects? I will give you an example. If Matt is the gaffer on a project and asks for 3 rolls of Roscoe gel for his lights at 120 USD per roll, there's nothing worse than agreeing, purchasing, and walking into the set after they move from that location to another and to see it laying on the floor. Trash. So the ability to be able to reuse gels over and over was a good addition. Integrated dimming and focus, the ability to dim the light or focus it remotely from your dimmer board. Yeah? Girls? Good? Okay. So how that's possible is there is a stepper motor inside the unit which allows you from the dimmer board to adjust the focus from flood, wide beam, to narrow beam. And we do this in a traditional manner. Most of you that have seen Fresnels that do that maybe have seen where the lens travels out of the body. We prefer the legacy design, the old-fashioned way, where the element moves inside the light fixture. It's safer. This makes for a very economical and ergonomical design which allows us to make the units smaller than a traditional light. Who here understands or has seen flicker in their productions before from cameras or lights? Okay. You know, I'm going to drift off subject for a second. This is my first time to Korea, to Seoul. So it's my honor. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful city with beautiful people. I spent the day Saturday at the Natural Museum near the temple for 4 or 5 hours, understanding the history, and makes me a better person. But what I found interesting is on my walks past the parade of, what do you call them? The petitions. There was billboards on the street. One billboard had a beautiful color image running on it. Remember the pictures I showed you girls earlier today? And the other monitor had bars running on it. So I think they have a problem with how they use power to the LED. And so many of you have maybe unfortunately discovered how most of the time the bars or the flicker comes when you are dimming the light down. It's very easy to hide a flicker at 100%, but when you get down to 10 or 5%, you start to see the challenge of using pulse width modulation. Pulse width modulation LED dimming. The light is on, the light is off. The light is on, the light is off. How we use analog instead of standard pulse width modulation gives us the ability of being able to have dimming to 0.1 with no flicker at any frame rate or shutter angle. It's one of the more popular features that Litepanels is known for. Does everybody understand pulse width modulation and how the picture is describing how it works? Let me give you a quick sample. A little Hollywood magic. Ah, thank you for the water. Nam, young ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Nam. Thank you. So while we're clapping, we're going to think of pulse width modulation in regards to sound instead of visually. That's the power on. When I dim it, the power goes on and off at a certain frequency. Okay, this is where we do the AC/DC theme song. No, just kidding. What we do is we have the power on, and when we dim it, it's still on. It's just quieter. Make sense? That's pulse width modulation versus analog. Thank you very much. You still having fun? Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Come back tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Okay, did I do this slide already? No, thanks Audrey. Thank you, Audrey. DMX control for focus and for dimming. DMX control, fantastic. We also use Cat5 connectors, and in some of our products we use Cat5 or 5-pin XLR. Why? It's just data. 1 and 2, 0 and 1. Why buy shielded microphone cable that cost a lot of money when you can go and just buy simple RJ45 Cat5 wire. So we made it less expensive for the support products. We have no need for dimmers, external dimmers, because the power board has a processor that is allowing the dimming to take place between the power board and the LED. Yeah? We also have a very good color rendering index. For some, it's not as important. For instance, if you were doing stills, having the proper color doesn't matter because you're only dealing with one frame at a time versus 24 or similar to. But we like to have our color rendering accurate as much as possible because we never know where our products go. One of our first products is in the International Space Station. It has been operating in the International Space Station for 11 years plus. It was chosen by NASA engineers because of its design in the housing to allow passive cooling in any environment. Space is zero gravity, so there is no natural convection taking place. So our design for thermal control was very clever. The reason they wanted our light also was because we were the only company at that time producing a perfect white light. That perfect white light was useful in the scientific experimentation they were achieving, as well as the photos of a piece of Jell-O floating and somebody grabbing it. Humor in NASA. Our spectrum is to create as clean a light as the sun. Sunshine in any city, you have a variable smooth layering from one of the primary colors to the next. So our goal was to reproduce in all of our chips good color. You can see how smooth the line is. If we were to go to what happens with, let's say, a fluorescent light or somebody that uses RGB to create white light, you will see valleys and peaks. And for the engineers, and some of you more astute photographers, you know that those valleys are non-reflective colors coming back through the lens to the sensor, yeah? So we want to make all the colors available to your sensor. And that's what we've done so well for almost 20 years. This is again pointing to that missing spectrum in regards to peaks, red, green, blue. Okay? Power supply on most all of our products is external. Because one of the biggest failures in electronics is the switch mode power supply. That little housing that takes alternating current and converts it to direct current. The direct current DC is then used by the power board to give forward voltage and constant current to the LED. So why hide it inside the light if it's one of the weakest components in electronics because it gets so much usage? This is Johnny Hot Lights. Johnny is burning up in his studio and requiring an incredible amount of AC, air conditioning, to keep him cool with the bright lights that he struggles to sit under every day at his news desk. So the idea with the LED conversion is that you're able to create similar output with less power and generating less heat. So Johnny becomes Stevie Cool Lights. Stevie. There's a big savings in cost if you are the producer, or you are the production manager, or you are the CFO. You are looking for an opportunity to give your people what they want, but you have to measure the return on the investment. Because like any good company, you want to have a positive cash flow. LED technology, everybody knows, can save money. So we created different ways of building lights that serve the ability to replace existing studio lights, as well as reduce the amount of electricity that you're using, thus the amount of air conditioning you're using, and you win. This is a sample that we carry through on all of our products. Remember at the beginning of my short story that's now gone on for 15 minutes, I started off picking up the heavy stuff and somebody telling me where to put it. And picking up the heavy stuff and putting it, and picking up and putting down. So I know from experience, if I was going to be an inventor, I would want to make stuff that was much easier to pick up, to carry. And that part I mentioned about the digital revolution is now more evident. Many of you travel across the water or mountains to different countries, different towns. Mobility is the perfect situation for an LED light. Studio applications, it made total sense in America, and that caught on with other parts of the world. I'm looking forward to our first studio here in Korea, so we can show as an example to the rest of the world that Litepanels is an excellent choice. And might I say, as I slow down, the great thing about CNC's lighting seminar today is you are seeing 3 different companies, perfect examples of a very well-designed product. And many times we will find ourselves in need of 1, 2, or 3 of those products. So to be able to know that one product cannot do everything, it's important to remember that we're here to give you an example. So be sure at the end of the day, if your time allows, that you come up and touch and feel and lift and talk about the products. This is just an example of how somebody can save money, and this is a part about PowerPoint where now I have the control to go through these silly slides. The return on the investment on average was 2.5 years in the US. Different style sets required different styles of lighting. And the wonderful part about today is the lens has a very fast reaction to light. So you've heard the expression, the lens is very fast. Maybe it's a 1:1 or a 1:2 ratio in regards to the amount of light it needs. And your sensor on your camera is possibly 3/4, if not full size, and is able to do more with less. So nowadays in lighting, as we'll show in some examples in a little bit, is how it's not about how much light you're putting on the subject, but more so where you put the light and where you put the camera. And lighting's very simple, as you're going to see. Different parts around the world from 10 years ago that are using light panels. Another example of lighting in a cramped space. I believe the hardest sets to light are not the giant stadiums, but the single rooms. The smaller the room, the harder. Now, if everybody would look over their shoulders to the 2 wonderful women doing the translation back there, see that small box they're working in? I would consider that a difficult set to light. Yeah? Because I don't really have anywhere to put the light. So years ago, you would have to put light, and a lot of it, to get an image, or fake the camera with the set design. Today, you don't need any light in there. They're getting enough illumination off of one little fluorescent light and all the gauges and everything. It's actually quite good. But there's a movie called Fargo. Has anyone here seen Fargo? Anybody? Thank you for playing. Anybody else seen Fargo? Fargo is a fabulous movie, Academy Award winning. But what was really interesting about that film, one shot that stands out is a motel scene. The motel scene is lit with one light, and the one light is in the center of the lens, so it's in the center of the set. Check it out. It's absolutely a perfect example of how to light with less to get more. These are just simple examples of a way to light green screen, two-person interviews. See, I'm of the mindset that people overlight green screen. I think people go out and they light the green screen, and then they put the person in front of the green screen, and then they light the person, and now the green screen's overlit. So you're constantly having to adapt and adjust. I prefer that you light the person, because the person is like a pencil. 1% of the light goes on the person, the rest of the light goes to the green screen. And then just take your telephone, your smartphone, and with it off, look back at the set. Can any of you see my eyes? Right? It's a contrast glass. Just by looking at it, you can tell if you're overexposed or underexposed. So it makes it very simple. Did everybody understand that with looking through the phone at the reflection? Anybody? One person saying yes, I understood? Because I cannot move on until somebody says yes, I understand. Thank you. Thanks for playing. Our lineup of products. Fresnel reimagined. We have our Sola series. Sola standing for daylight. We have a Sola 6. We have a Sola 4. We have a Sola, an Inca 6, an Inca 4. The 6 and the 4 stand for the diameter of the lens. Sola 4 is a 4-inch lens. A daylight balanced Sola 4 Plus provides controllability and light shaping properties inherent to a Fresnel light, with the advantages of LED technology and DMX controllability. Thank you very much. Good night. I'm just kidding. I'm coming back. There are people using this to light studios. Very small, almost like a dog. I could put it in my purse. Woof. So this is a Sola 4. Lightweight, easily to transport, a lot of light. We'll show you later. So we're trying to create lights. We are trying to create lights to light talent. If I want to light a stadium, I know exactly what lights I'm going to go after. If I need a follow spot to follow me on the stage, I know exactly where I can go get one. So every light is not the same. The ability to be able to pick and choose what you need will come from experience. And so once again, today, the beauty of CNC putting this together is a plethora of incredible equipment for us all to play with. Solar 6-inch lens. Brick bicolor. So this is version 2 of what NASA has in the International Space Station. This product is on camera or off camera. And all of our products are battery operable. This is a very cool kit which we have here. This is called the Lycos. It's small, it's lightweight, it's powerful. It's just plain fantastic. Our Astra, which is going to be pulled out here in a second. There's a couple over here. The Astra is the #1 rental house 1x1 light in the world. If you think about it, Litepanels was the first to build LED technology into lighting for image capture. Since then, many companies have come up with a panel of their own. But because of the reliability of the product, because of the quality of the light color, and the support from the dealer network all the way through, this is the #1 rental light in the world. And you will see it in many news events, which is kind of exciting for us to be able to stay on mark and develop products that people will still want to buy. This is another part of the Astra family. This 1x1 is a bifocus. The 6X that I showed you here is bicolor. I can dial from tungsten to daylight. The bifocus is daylight only, but I can focus from wide angle to narrow beam electronically with no movement. And the Astra Soft. It's a soft light, very similar to some of the products we're going to show you next in regards to the most popular new product from Litepanels, which is our Gemini 2x1.